Hey everyone, this is your first slideshow for Unit 2. Unit 1 and 2 are kind of grouped together, so there is only one test and it combines Unit 1 and 2. That will be later on this month. So today we're talking about properties. A property is a characteristic that makes up a substance that you can observe, so you can see a property. We have physical properties, which is observed without changing the identity of the substance. So the substance does not change into something else. It's just a property that can be observed. Here's some examples of that. We have mass, or how much matter is in an object. We usually find this by using our scales and weighing it. Color, volume is mass divided by density. That's a physical property. Shape, texture, how malleable something is, which means it's able to be hammered or it can be pressed into a shape without breaking. So you can think about a big piece of metal, maybe. It could be heated and hammered and pressed into a shape without breaking. Ductile means it can be stretched into a wire. Odor is how something smells. Viscosity is how resistant a fluid is to flow. So for example, maple syrup is really thick, and compared to water, maple syrup has a high viscosity because when you pour it, it doesn't come out very quickly, right? It kind of takes a while to get the syrup out. Brittle means it breaks easily. Bitter tastes bad. Density also means how compact the atoms in something are. Solubility is the ability to dissolve. Usually we're talking about the ability to dissolve in water. Conductivity is the ability to conduct electricity, and luster is how shiny something is. So with physical properties, we can actually split that into two other groups just to kind of further organize it. So we have intensive and extensive properties. These are still physical properties. We're just splitting them into two groups. Okay? Intensive properties do not depend on the amount of the substance. Extensive do depend on the amount. So here's some examples. Intensive would be color, taste, melting point, boiling point, density, luster, hardness, and conductivity. So all these stay the same regardless of how much material you have. So let's talk about, a penny. If you cut a penny in half, the color stays the same. Should still taste the same. I wouldn't recommend tasting it. Boiling point, melting point, those are all the same. It'll still have the same density. It'll still have the same luster. It doesn't get more or less shiny depending on how much there is. It still has the same hardness, and it still either has conductivity or it doesn't. Extensive properties are mass, volume, length, and shape. I would recommend memorizing these four. So if there's a question about properties and you know that these four are extensive, you'll be able to say anything else is intensive. Okay? So mass, volume, length, and shape. All of those depend on the amount of the substance. So if I have a rock and I break it in half, the mass changes, right? The big rock was broken in half, so now it has two smaller masses. The volume would change, the length would change, and the shape would change. Chemical properties, a characteristics of a substance that is observed during a reaction in which the chemical composition or identity is changed. So there's an actual change happening. Physical properties, there's no change. Chemical, there is. Here are some examples of chemical properties. How flammable something is, that's just, does it catch on fire or not? If something is stable and it resists change, that's a chemical property. Tarnishes, so the opposite of luster. If something is able to tarnish or lose its shine, that's a chemical property. That's a chemical reaction that's happening. Same thing for rust or oxidizing. If something's an explosive, how reactive something is, and how corrosive something is, those are all chemical properties. Okay, that is the last section. This was the last page for this notes. If you have questions, let me know. Really focus on memorizing those 4 extensive properties for your exam.